Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is on the campaign trail. His name isn't on the ballot, but his conservative priorities are.
What happens when we play? We win!
All 140 seats in Virginia's General Assembly are up for grabs. Right now, the Republicans control the House of Delegates, while Democrats control the state Senate. Youngkin and his allies hope to hold the House and flip the Senate.
We are the party of hope. They are the party of fear. And hope beats fear every single day of the week. Every day of the week.
Republicans, in control of both chambers, would pass Governor Youngkin's legislative agenda with ease, including laws on school choice and abortion. Virginia is the last state in the South without significant restrictions on abortion rights, and Democrats have blanketed the airwaves with warnings to voters about what's on the line.
You don't have to look far to know where MAGA Republicans want to take Virginia. Just look what's happening around us.
Republicans say they're pushing for a limit on abortion, not a ban.
I don't support an abortion ban, period.
At campaign events in the final days of the race, Republicans were not focusing on abortion, but rather the economy, public safety, and education.
All the Democrats want to talk about is abortion. It's time to talk about the things that are going to make a big difference for every Virginian family.
But Democrats believe the abortion issue is key to their success.
People are scared because they've seen what's happened in other states. You know, it starts with one ban, then it's a second ban, and then you see punishment start to get more and more strict.
Voters at both Democratic and Republican events told us they do have strong thoughts on the future of abortion rights in the state.
There's a lot of fear we could turn into a state that is not safe to be pregnant in.
I feel like the unborn baby does not have a voice, and everyone else over here has a voice, and we have to be that baby's voice.
A big Republican win on Tuesday could signal that a 15-week abortion ban is a winning position for the GOP in swing states in 2024. It could also serve as a launching pad for the term-limited governor's next move, something he's been asked about repeatedly.
I've been at the Rockingham County Fair, not the Iowa State Fair. I'm campaigning across Virginia and focused on Virginia, not in New Hampshire, not in South Carolina, not in Nevada. I'm focused on Virginia, and that's where my attention will continue to be.
Virginia's off-year elections, a preview of what's to come nationally in 2024.
And Gary Grumbach joins me now live from Fredericksburg, Virginia. And Gary, when you talked to Governor Youngkin yesterday, he framed the abortion issue as a potential unifying issue for Virginia. What'd you make of that?
So his whole take is that it is a consensus builder, that 15 weeks with exceptions is something that people can support. But polling, frankly, just shows otherwise. A recent Christopher Newport poll out of Virginia, out of the state of Virginia, says that more than 70% of Virginians don't want any changes to the way abortion is right now in the state. And currently it is at 26 weeks and a single day. But looking at this nationally, seeing what happens tomorrow could really play a role in what happens nationally in 2024. Because if Republicans do flip the state Senate in Virginia tomorrow, they will have a trifecta for the first time in a decade in this state. And that would be a very big deal, not only for the policies that Governor Youngkin wants to put in place, things like abortion, related to education. He's been very big on the idea of parents matter and the idea that parents have a bigger role to play in their children's life. But it also has a role to play in perhaps Governor Youngkin's political future. Gabe?
Gary Grumbach live for us in Virginia. Gary, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.